Good evening and welcome to Iracing's Aussie Endurance Series. Round 5 for following the IMSA Series Season 3 on Iracing. And this week we are at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for a 2-hour IMSA event with the LMP2s and GT3s currently on track doing qualifying. Take a quick look at the circuit for this week. The Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is a purpose-built race course, excuse me, opened on June 1961 and is the current format and has not changed its layout since opening. There are 10 turns, it's a total of 3.97 kilometres. Track is located in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. It held the first IMSA race in 1975 and has remained a regular location on the seasonal calendar. The track pavement was widened to 13 metres wide in 2001 during the resurfacing to meet the current FIA regulations, but it maintained the racing line and integrity of the original circuit. The one thing we will notice this evening is that there are no meter boards or clear brake markers. It is very much practice to get the perfect lap around here. So cars out on track now doing qualifying. Let's shoot over and see how the team are getting on. I believe there are actually 11 cars on track. There is one yet to set a qualifying. Looking through the name of the drivers who I've seen. No, we must have had someone drop out. Okay. So 10 cars out on track. We've got 5 LMP2s and 5 GT3s. Currently riding on the board with Jared Eastman in the number 247, the Dr. Pepper Cherry Cola livery this evening with Jared. And we were talking a little bit earlier with the drivers about the points table. And interesting, there are a few drivers missing from tonight's lineup. And this could be a big shake-up for the current points table, but there are 2 drop rounds to be taken from this series, so plenty of time for anyone missing out to make up lost points. But as the points table stands at the moment, Matt Motovinek is the points leader in the GT3 on 402 points, John Filligan in the LMP2 on 399, John McHenry in the LMP2 on 392, Blake Norman in the LMP2 on 389, and Michael Artlett on 367. There are a couple of drivers with dropped rounds below that, so there is plenty of time for this leaderboard to be shaken up. And a good opportunity for some drivers to make a maximum points this evening. But this is a very technical track. Enough for me. Let's jump on board. Jumping aboard with Jared Eastman for a lap. Down through turns 3, the bottom of the hill, up and around turns 5, 5 and 5, 5A, 5B, 5C, through Moss Corner. The long run down Mario Andretti Straight, which is turns 6, 7 and 8. We'll come up over the hill into the S's. Through turns 9 and then turn 10 back onto the start finish line. So turn 1 almost flat out for the LMP2s. The guys were saying they can pretty well survive flat on good tyres. Turn 2, another flat left-hander. And then hard on the brakes down here, get the car turned in, back onto the power, let the car drift right out to the ripple strip. Down the hill. Hard braking zone again. Little blind apex here. And then onto the pace down Murray Andretti Straight. This is pretty well the only time you get to relax around this track. And then popping up over the hill before coming into the braking zones for turn 8 and turn 9. And then white corner for 10th turn back onto the start finish line. And that's the layout of Canadian Tire. Putting on the board at the moment with John Filligan in the 369 LMP2. 2 points off the points leader. Sam Smith back after missing out last week. Wasn't able to make it home in time to start the race. We should see a good battle between Sam Smith and Tim Hancock at the top of the GT3 ladder. And Michael Arklet changing over to the Ferrari this week. Stepped out of the Audi. Terry Knowles in the Porsche this evening. And Kalpesh is back into the Ferrari in the GT3 after having a couple of weeks in the LMP2. Very much looks like Matt Beattie has the time to catch at the moment. 0.2 of a second back to John Filligan. And they're a clear 1 second out in front of the rest of the LMP2 field at the moment. We expect to see John Cashin find a little bit of pace as this race rolls on. John's got a very good race pace in that car. And this track is a little more challenging for the GT3s. There are a couple of subtle camber changes at very inconvenient locations around this track, which makes it very challenging for the GT3, especially when the full load of fuel. The rear of the car really does like to dance around. So qualifying is over. The guys will be going through their setups now, getting themselves organised. Job has joined us at the last minute, coming in as a late contender in the GT3. He will start from a back of grid, having made it just in time to beat the qualifying clock. So we start on the front side of the grid. We've got Matt Beattie and John Filligan with John McHenry and Jared Easton, and John Cashin rounding up the 5 LMP2s. 5 seconds behind on the outlap will be Tim Hancock and Samuel Smith across the front row. And then Michael Artlett and Terry Knowles holding at round 2. Row 3 will be Kalpesh Desai and Job Joslin. Anyone who has registered for this race is able to join. Anyone who has failed to register at this stage, I'm not too sure if they can still register after the race has started, but anyone who's registered can join the lobby at any stage. So we've got around about 60 seconds to go before the pace car will lead us off. The guys will all be going through their setups at the moment, getting themselves ready. Most of the cars have joined the grid. Getting ready for the Canadian Tire Motorsports round 5 of the Iracing Aussie Endurance Series. Hope you're enjoying the series so far. Very disappointed myself that I can't be out there with the guys on track, but enjoying bringing the opportunity to have the live streams here for you, for the guys to follow up afterwards and check out the action. The car's rolling out now for their formation lap. I get to see some of these fantastic liveries. And Jared Eastman at the moment in the 247, a new livery for him this week in the Cherry Cola Dr. Pepper car. Definitely stands out on track, that's for sure. Cars roll around through here at the moment. This is the formation lap ready for 2 hours of racing for the Iracing Aussie Endurance Series. There are some discussions at the moment about the duration of these races in future after this week. So stay tuned, make sure you get involved. Jump onto the Discord channel. Get involved in the conversations. And looks like Sam hanging back behind Michael Artlett there. I'm not too sure what's going on. They're out of view at the moment for their position on track. Let's get ourselves ready, coming up towards the end of Michael Andretti Straight. In true IMSA tradition, the LMP2 cars and the GT3 cars have approximately 5 to 10 second gap between them at the start of this race. And we are expecting the LMP2 cars to lap the GT3 cars about every 7 laps or so around here this evening. And we are off and racing. We have a green light. Go, go, go. And Matt Beattie was not hanging around there. He has already jumped out to a commanding lead at the moment off this race. John Philly has fallen all the way back to 3rd place by the looks of that. Stuck in behind John McHenry there. And a little bit of tight start for the GT3s as well. Just have to be careful here. Full fuel and cold tyres. These cars will be a little bit nervous for the first couple of laps. And if you're jumping in the stream this evening, jump on chat and say good day. Tell us who you're going to be following. We'd love to hear from you. There's going to be some exciting racing around here this evening. It might be a small field, but that won't take away from the racing that we're going to see. There's keen battles heading up around this track at the moment. So our timing will update as we come through here. John McHenry slid up into P2 in the first couple of corners. It looks like John Philly had a very poor start to this race, but settling back now into P3. He needs to consolidate at the moment. He's chasing some points to stay at the top of the leaderboard. And Tim Hancock, who looks like has had a disconnect at this stage. That is disappointing for Tim. Hopefully everything's all right in the home front. But Michael Atlas looks like he's going to give Sam Smith a bit of run for his money this evening. Two Ferraris having a very tight battle at the front of the GT3s. But at the moment, riding on board with John McHenry running in P2 in the LP2 class. So John Philly sitting in P3 will be keeping a close eye on here. He would not be wanting to get too much of a gap to Matt Beattie. He does want to hunt Matt down to get the full handful of points tonight to keep himself at the top of the leaderboard. For anyone watching, this is the Iracing Endurance Aussie Endurance Series. It follows the IMSA Endurance Series run on season 3, and this week we are round 5 or week 5, season 3. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And for anyone choosing to do the IMSA sprints this week, this track will be wet. There are thunderstorms. We have had our leader lose the back of the car there. Matt Beattie has lost the back of the LMP2. John McHenry slides up into first place with John Felligan just behind at this stage. Matt will be frustrated with himself there. And it reminds us how technical this track really is. It is a very, very high level of concentration around this track. On paper, it looks very simple. I'm just wondering whether Matt may have actually had something going on at home there. He's parked himself up in the pits. We'll keep an eye on that to see whether he rejoins. At the moment, watching the battle between Kapelsch and Job. The two Ferraris having a bit of a battle here. Just getting a little bit wide there. That looks like it's given the opening. Job gets the run out of turn 5. And Kapelsch can tuck in here and get the slipstream. He may be able to take advantage, try and outbrake him down the inside. No, he just backs out of it there. Oh no, sorry to hear that, Tim. Hope everything is alright there, mate. We might leave that event for another time. Joe's got a little bit of fresh air in front of him now, and he is starting to pull a bit of a margin away from Capelch. And the Ferrari, a fantastic car to drive around here, feels really planted on the road. I did take the Mustang for a drive earlier in the week, and it is very much a handful of a car around this track. You have to be very, very patient waiting for the car to come up to full temp, and you have to take some obscure lines around this track to avoid some of the subtle camber changes to keep the car well planted. But I did definitely felt that there was definitely a competitive time in the Mustang around here. John McHenry at the moment having the fastest lap for this evening with 108.3 in the LMP2 class. It looks like most of the GT3s are settling down now, and Sam finds himself in the pits. So Sam, if you're still in chat, is there any advice you can give to the drivers? Was there anything the guys can take forward into the coming week around the IMSA Sprint Series, being that this track will be wet? There are some challenges around here to try and find a line, but there are some good racing lines around here in the wet, but I did find it difficult to actually keep the car in check. So Sam Smith also pulling out as a DNF this evening. That is disappointing. And looks like Matt Beattie is back on track again. Unfortunately, he has lost a lap to the leaders at the moment in the LMP2, but 2-hour race. We still got 1 hour and 48 minutes to go, so still plenty of time to make any improvements and try and get that lap back. John McHenry having a little issue on his last lap, almost dropping second to John Philly in second place. And Jared Eastman just keeping himself ahead of John Cashin. And Matt Beattie at the moment back behind that queue after the pit stop. But in the GT3 class, we've got Michael Atler leading at the moment over Terry Knowles. Terry doing a great race here in the Porsche. Joe Joplin having a good solid drive. He's managed to make the overtake on Capelch, and he's got his eyes at the moment hunting up the back of the Porsche from Terry Knowles. A few of the drivers are struggling with track limits at the moment. As we see the LMP2 cars making it up to the back of the GT3 cars. John McHenry has set his eyes on the prize this evening, putting down a new fastest lap. We see the Ferrari flying off the side of the track to the outside there. It looks like Job possibly trying to get out of the way of the LMP2 coming through. That puts him right back into the clutches of Capelsch. Good battle here for the GT3 class. And Matt Beattie having some issues this evening now in a tow. I was expecting that may be as a result of some issues at home, having to be pulled away from the rig. And these slower cars have the right. As we see, let's at John Filligan falling out in the background there, about breaking himself coming up into turn 5. But the GT3 class have the right of way to the racing line through here. It is up to the LMP2, the faster class, to make the clean overtake. Riding on the board with Job Jobler, the number 13 BGA livery Ferrari. And Job putting in some track time at the moment, looking forward to the 24-hour round Spa in 2 weeks' time. BGA will be fielding a couple of cars. I'm definitely having the Ferrari on track for Team VGA. I believe my sister league, Aussie New Zealand Combined Racing League, will be fielding 2 cars for the Spa 24 hour. They'll be having the Mustang, I believe, and the Porsche, I think, was the other car. In between all their IMSA events, the guys are out getting some much needed practice around what is to be expected a wet Spa track. Almost 20 minutes into this race now. John McHenry putting down another fastest lap. John Filligan also finding additional pace. John McHenry just weaving his way through the back of the GT3 field at the moment. Capelsch has managed to get forward of Job again. And John Philly coming through. So let's jump over the back with Kapelsch. As he takes us for a lap around. Do have to make note of how much vision you can see out the front of this Ferrari compared to the new Mustang. I really need to get rid of that bonnet scoop on the Mustang and allow a little bit more vision down towards the front of the car to see the apex and turn-in points. Looking at a very busy little section of track here at the moment. A cluster of GT3 cars and Matt Beattie in the LMP2 passing through. So Matt's still looking for a sponsor for his car for this season. Interesting talking point this evening will be tyre life. Looking at it currently 41.7 track temp. It is a little bit warm out there this afternoon. It is 12:43 in race time. So just past midday on track. We would expect that track temp may still potentially rise yet before the end of this race. The GT3 is having a great battle this evening between Joe Joslin, Kapelsch Desai and Terry Knowles. All very close on track. And also the LMP2 class, we've got John Cashin and Jared Eastman just setting their personal best times, both in the 109s. So they're getting very close in the LMP2 field as well. Crossing over 16 laps into this race. And even though we appear to have a smaller grid for this evening, they're showing us some fantastic racing at the moment. Most of the drivers do have that candy in front of them with another car. You can see the 3 GT3 cars here, the Porsche and the 2 Ferraris. Also looking at the leader at the moment. Oh, sorry, Joe. Third placed LMP2 car, Jared Eastman coming through. bright red Dr. Pepper livery. And Terry Knowles throwing a little spanner in the works, having a different livery on the Porsche this week. And it looks like Jared running a little bit wide out there in the LMP2. Ooh, and then commentators curse. We see the Porsche park itself up against the wall. That looked like a very, very big hit. And that could be a trip to the pits. And Capel's putting down a personal best time of 1:18.7. And Michael Artlett also finding some pace in the Ferrari with a 1:17.849 as his fastest lap this evening. And the front of the LMP2 class is starting to heat up. John Philly finding good pace in that car as it starts to run down onto low fuel. And if you'd like the racing that you're selecting at the moment, then don't be afraid to get involved. It is a very open league. Drivers of all skills and all I-rating are welcome. There is a good mix of skill on track this evening as well. And the little fake through there from the LMP2 just causing Depeche to run a little bit wide, allowing Job to slide up through. It puts Job up into second place in the class for GT3. And John Philly, after a commanding run, has had a little bit of a trouble. And now we see Job run himself wide. A little game of cat and mouse between the GT3s here. Running on board with John Philly, who would not be happy with himself after his recent off. Dropping almost 4 seconds that last lap. Jared Eastman also coming into grief. He's requested a tow. So these track temperatures 42.2 degrees now. This is playing havoc with the tyres on these cars. Guys are finding that they are struggling to find the level of grip they had at the start of the race. As we mentioned earlier, this track has a very, very high concentration level. It is very, very technical. Subtle colors, subtle changes in camber around this track make it very, very difficult. It is a track you've got to be very, very patient on coming back onto the power. You can't just mash the power back on in either of these classes. You have to ease back into the power, ensure the car is fully settled and planted before getting hard onto the accelerator. And the extra challenge comes with the IMSA Sprint Series this week, with the track having a thunderstorm, so it's expected that the races will be wet all week for the IMSA Sprint Series. And we are following the IMSA Endurance Series. This weekend the IMSA Endurance Series will be here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and we will be seeing the weather that we're experiencing now, very hot and dry. We're approaching 1 PM in race time at the moment, after 31 minutes on track. The LMP2s will have the capabilities of running for another 15 or 20 minutes before requiring their first pit stop. The GT3s, if they had started with full fuel, can go all the way through into the next hour, expecting that they will clock up around about 43 laps around this track before a pit stop. We see Matt Beatty sitting off the back of the two GT3s here, making his way through cleanly. So if Tim or Sam want to get involved, they can jump in the chat and say g'day. They're still on Discord. Staying with this close battle on track this evening between Capelch and Job. Both drivers pushing the Ferrari. The number 9 Porsche for Terry Knowles has required a pit stop to repair some damage, but that won't necessarily put him too far out of the mix. So here's a 2-stop pit stop. If he can get the little extra kilometres out of the Porsche, he might still be able to keep this in check and finish with a podium. LMP2s are now struggling with their tyre life by the looks of that, with the heat of this track. Their lap times are starting to drop. Having said that, Garrett Eastman just posted his personal best with a 109.263. Having seen that the LMP2s are capable of low 108s and potentially 107s. Here is a 107.9 from John McHenry, fastest lap of the race. John. Excuse me. John, thanks for catching me out there. After thinking that the LMP2s were struggling with tyre life, John McHenry just throws down the fastest lap of the race. Michael Utler having a commanding drive in the Ferrari at the moment to the front of this GT3 field. Running down consistent low 118s. I just have to be a little bit conscious there, just pushing the Ferrari a little bit wide, I think. John McHenry just asking a little bit too much there, pushing the Ferrari a little bit wide. He probably should have just given him a little bit more space. I do like to give at least 1.5 car widths between the cars to avoid any netcode in this series. It is very much a development series. So open to drivers of all skill. Just getting a little bit of trouble there, trying to avoid the back of the Ferrari Pelsch. Just having a little bit of a tap on the pit wall. Hopefully that hasn't done too much damage to the back of the Ferrari. You see John Philly pass through there. So for anyone watching, I hope you are enjoying the stream so far. Take a stroll around the track and check out some of the liveries we have. Obviously John Filligan running in the VGA livery for the LMP2. John McHenry running his custom livery in the LMP2. And Michael Artler running his custom livery for the Ferrari. Having swapped over from the Audi earlier in the year. And all the VGA drivers getting ready for the Spa 24-hour coming up in just over 12 days' time. And in front of Michael we see the Porsche of Terry Knowles. And Terry choosing a different livery for this week. Can't quite pick livery for that car. May not be any branding on it. And Jared Eastman always loves a good livery. He had the Deadpool livery for his Ferrari GT3. And now seeing the Cherry Cola Dr. Pepper livery. Very bright red livery for the LMP2. And then Matt Beattie in the all black 511 LMP2. Matt throwing down some blistering times at the moment. Unfortunately, a few pit stops for him has left him a few laps off the pace, but don't be surprised if we see him starting to claw a few of that laps back with the change of pit stops. That's always been pretty good with his strategy. There's the battle we've seen for quite some time. We've got Joe Jobson in the VGA livery Ferrari, hunting off the back of Capelsch. These guys are having a fantastic battle this evening. First dives into the pit lane a little bit early. I would have thought maybe he has an alternate strategy. Matt Beattie now throwing down a PB as he slides through on Job. A little off track, but no time lost there. Job has some clean air now, can sit down into a rhythm and find himself some track space. Looks like a little missed gear there coming up through the hill. Jared Eastman coming up on the back there in the LMP2. Now the track temperature continues to rise, 42.8. In game is the 13th of July. And we've just passed 1 PM. And the distinctive factor around this track is you'll notice there are no meter boards or markers coming up to any of the corners. It is very much picking out a light pole, a post, something off track, a tree, to try and find your braking markers around this track. Capelsch now coming out of the pits after his out lap. He's pulled up onto the back of Terry Knowles. Appears to be a very, very tight section of track around a couple of these GT3s at the moment. Very small mistake. We actually have Michael Artlett coming up onto the back of Terry Knowles. Was not paying attention to the telemetry there. So Michael Artlett, leader in the GT3 class at the moment. Put in the Porsche a lap down. Terry just blinking his acknowledgement. The LMP2 class will now be looking for their pit stops as we see John Filligan into pit lane. We've seen John McHenry also pit. Wait for everything to adjust. John Filligan coming out on his out lap now. See Matt Beattie make the pass through there. And John Filligan now taking the lead of this race. After the first round of pit stops. And we have just adjusted now on his out lap. And Philly has just slid back into second place. John Cashin in third. Darren Eastman in fourth. Matt Beattie in fifth for the opening class of LMP2s. The GT3 class, Michael Artlett leading the LMP GT3s. Joe Joslin in second place. And now has a margin over Kapausch in third place. And Terry Knowles in fourth in the Porsche. Struggling now being 3 laps down. But valuable seat time for these drivers, valuable track time. Important laps for anyone that wants to do the Sprint Series this week. We'll follow up with the Endurance Series this following weekend. John Philly just on his first full flying lap after his pit stop. Getting the fuel for the car again, full tank of fuel on fresh tyres. The track temp seems to have stabilised now at 42.8 degrees. We are coming up onto the 50-minute mark of this race. And we've got 70 minutes remaining. Approximately 45 laps around this track still to go for these guys. This is the Iracing Aussie Endurance Series running on Tuesday nights. Feel like what you're seeing here and you want to get involved, don't be afraid. Jump aboard. It is very much a development series for drivers of all scale. We can see we've got drivers with 0.8 and 0.9k rating. We've got drivers in the 2 and the 3, 4 and 5k rating across this field. At the moment, John Cashin making a move around Job. John Cashin loves a little speed in real life as he races supercarts circuit around Australia. So for everyone watching, we hope you are enjoying the racing this evening. I'll be riding with Matt Beattie, number 55511. And John McHenry in the 117 making the pass around Job. John McHenry, the leading car on track at the moment in the locked on livery. And he's holding a 15.8 second margin over John Finnegan in second place in the MP2. And Jared Eastman now doing his pit stop. It allows John Cashin to move up into third place. On board with Matt Beattie coming up onto the back of the number 16, John Cashin. And if Matt Beattie makes the move here, that will put him a lap up, or get a lap back over Cashy. You can also see John McHenry in the background. Garrett Eastman just completing his pit stop now on the LMP2, taking on a full load of fuel and fresh tyres. 65 minutes left in this race, a 2-hour racing event for the Iracing Aussie Endurance Series. Cashy just saves the slide there, but that could be enough. And makes the move. So Matt Beattie makes the move around, and that also brings John McHenry right up onto the back of John Cashin as well. Expecting Cashy will probably give John some space through here and allow him through. Doesn't want to get tied up into a racing event with the lead car on track. And moves out of the way and backs off. That's the correct way to allow a car to overtake. Pass your way through the corner and then move off the racing line. Slight lift off the accelerator and then move back onto the racing line when that car has passed through. Good driver now, John Cashy. Great to show us how it's done. And we have most cars parked up in the same section of track at the moment. The Porsche GT3 has the right to the racing line, being the slower car. Is up to the faster cars to make the overpass. Oh, sorry to hear that, Stick Easy. Jared advising he had a coughing fit which crashed him into the wall. And then the second time he was retrieving a phone call. Personal life does get in the way. These are some of the things that we experience that real racing drivers don't have to deal with, is phone calls. We had a good conversation not that long ago with a couple of drivers about the difference between real racing and sim racing, and the similarities and the differences experienced. Especially for the GT3 classes and some of the lower classes. In real life they have time pit stops, they have other situations and events that go on throughout the race which we don't experience or have to be challenged with. We don't have to deal with the inertia with the motions of these cars. We can keep ourselves cool and hydrated, unlike the drivers. Yeah, mate, it's unfortunately some of the challenges we have, it replicates some of the events of real life racing. Challenges that come across, events that can happen, interfere with our race, but it's all about regathering ourselves and getting ourselves back in the car and getting ourselves back onto the track. That's the advantage of having an endurance race where you can get back into it. Even though we've only got a small number of cars around the track, there are some great battles been going on this evening. Most drivers have been involved in a battle here and there. And Michael Artley just comfortably rolling around at the moment at the front of the GT3 class, putting in some valuable seat time at the moment, getting practice for the Spa 24-hour coming up for Team VGA. And Matt Beattie now in his pit stop, getting a fresh tank and a set of tyres. Yes, it's all about quality seat time. Stick easy. I had that last week. I was, my wife was a little bit upset that I was driving, but I said to her I only drove for about an hour or so because I spent close to an hour in pit. But I really enjoyed my experience last week and looking forward to recovering from my injury and getting back out there full time. But easy, you'll be able to remind us about how challenging this track actually is. It looks like a simple track on paper, but the subtle camber changes and the subtleties of this track are very, very challenging and highly demanding on your level of concentration for a full 2 hours around here. I'm not too sure how the guys go on doing a 24-hour event around here. I've heard it has occurred, and that would have been absolutely insane. But this is an official track that is on the IMSA circuit. So it has appeared in the IMSA series since 1977. And the current IMSA series has been running on this track since 2022. Obviously had the break during COVID. But a blistering track temp out there at the moment, 43.3 degrees. You see John Philly just making a move through there on Kashi. And John locking himself up into second position in class at the moment on track. I'm sure he'll be gunning hard to try and close that margin down, but John McHenry at the moment just has the superior pace in the lead LMP2 car. And Michael Artlett throwing down some ultra consistent laps at the moment, but also Terry Knowles be disappointed with himself in the Porsche. He's shown us that he can have some good pace in the now I've lost it, in the Porsche. Okay, Dorino showing us that all different styles of drivers are currently having a 0.9k I rating, and I don't take I rating as any reference to the quality of the driver. Some of the higher I rating drivers that I've experienced in public lorries are absolute mongrels on track. So we can see we've got Derry Knowles doing a great job at the moment in the Porsche the GT3 class. We're looking at John Philly at the moment. He's just made the pass. Oh, and there's commentator's curse. So the car's throwing themselves off the outside of turn 2. We've got Terry Knowles and Joe Joplin just put down personal bests on that last lap. Both running in the very low 118s. And it is a game of attrition here for these drivers. Oh, you got to gather it in. That is a big smack on the wall for Joe. He's not going to be happy with that. Currently holding second place in the GT3 class. Hopefully he has not got too much damage, but the recent damage model that they've introduced onto Iracing, I know if I tried to do that in my Mustang, it would be a trip to pit lane. And John McHenry coming through the Porsche of Terry Knowles. And Michael Artlett is now taking his pit stop. So this will be a full load of fuel. Fresh set of tyres will take him all the way through to the end of this race. So only one required pit stop for the GT3s if everything goes correctly for them. The LMP2s required 2 pit stops for fuel and tyres. And now 55 minutes to go. We are 53 laps into this race. I think 43 laps in for the GT3s. Sorry, 46 laps in for the GT3s and 54 laps in for the LMP2s. and it does pay to have a setup for this track. I found that the baseline setups were comfortable enough to drive, but there certainly wasn't the pace in that you would like. Definitely requiring some tricks to the setup to get pace on this track. And dealing with 43.3 degrees on the track temp, it also takes some serious control not to overdrive the car. As we're watching Kashi take a wide berth through there, just cooling the tyres down. No harm done there. And Jared Eastman back out on track now, running around in that fantastic livery. And unfortunately, commentator's curse just parked that into the wall. Jared back for the tow. I'll put my hand up for that one. That is commentator's curse. So John Kashi must be getting low on fuel. He'll have to be getting close to his next pit stop for a tank of fuel and a set of tyres. Up 23 was his last stop, so GT3 class, the guys are just sorting themselves out after their round of pit stops. Coming out on cold tyres for fuel. We're just waiting for cars to settle back in. And as we stand at the moment, John McHenry sitting in the leading LMP2 class. Riding on board with him at the moment. Over John Filligan and John Cashin sitting in third place. Our podium at the moment for the GT3 class is Michael Artlitz over Job Joplin, and Capelch is at the moment sitting in third in GT3 class. And Job just put in a blistering lap time along with Terry Knowles in the Porsche. Both now down into the 117s. So full tank of fuel, a fresh set of tyres. These guys are finding blistering speed now after running around here for an hour and 10 minutes. So 50 minutes to go, or 49 minutes to go now in this 2-hour race for the Iracing Aussie Endurance Series. This is week 5, season 3 for the IMSA Endurance Series at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. The track is 3.96 kilometres long and there are 10 turns, although that is a little bit intriguing as we see Joe go wide there, allowing let Kashi through. So turn 1 at the end of the pit straight, and then you've got turn 2A and turn 2B before going down the hill up into Quebec. So Clayton for turn 2, Quebec for turn 3. Turn 4 is the bottom of the hill before you come up into Moss Corner, which is turn 5A, turn 5B, turn 5C, and then out onto Mario Andretti Straight, which is turn 6 and 7. And at the end of the straight, turning around to the right-hander, turn 8 through the S's through turn 9, and then back to the left-hander, just White's corner onto the start-finish line. So let's go for a lap around with John Henry. So turns 2A and 2B. Going up the hill into turn 3. Quebec. And then turn 4 over the hill. Down around through the valley up into turn 5A, 5B and 5C. And then Mario Andretti straight, turn 6. And turn 7. Over the hill into the braking zone, into the S's, turn 8. Turn 9. And then White corner, turn 10 onto the start finish line. And that's a lap around Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Work our way back through the field. There's the commentator's curse again, watching the Ferrari just grab the grass around the outside of turn 2. Up through Quebec. Big crackle of the Porsche as it drops down through the gears. Matt Beattie fighting here at the moment on the back of John Cashin. Cashin running a little bit wide, this should give him the run. I had to back out a little bit there, didn't quite turn in early enough. Very few nervous moments there for Matt Beattie. Just trying to push the back of that car out into the grass, making a very, very nervous car. With John Cashin obviously running a little bit of life out of those tyres, the back of the car is starting to get a little bit loose for him. Beattie struggling with a little bit of concentration here, but looks of it just needs to refocus here. Doesn't want to be following the line of John Cashin, wants to be focusing on the apexes and turn-ins. Very easy to get caught out by the car in front when you're hunting them down. And they can easily draw you off track if they get their line wrong themselves. But all the drivers doing a fantastic job this evening. We haven't seen too many contact with other cars. Drivers have been very well behaved on track. And coming up on the back of the lead GT3 car. And just struggling with his line there, just a little bit out braking himself, trying to get in front of the GT3 car. And gets the move done when John Cashin gets a little wide of himself and has to back right out of it to get the car to turn back in. On the board with Kaposh Desai at the moment, running third in class in the GT3s. This is how the line to take coming up through turns 5. Let's take a look around this circuit of where we would want to be if we were running around here on a wet track. Again, got to come a little bit early in here, need to get on the inside, then stay to the outside and then cut back to the inside. So we want to stay away from the racing line through there. And we want to stay to the outside through here. We want to get away from the racing line. We want to be out there on track. And through here, hard to the inside through here, stay to the inside. There's good grip down the inside. Through there. Coming up over here, again want to stay far to the outside. You want to be on this part of the track here. Cut back through. Out there, switch back through here. You have to take the racing line through here. But stay back to the right hand side for the traction off the racing line. And then coming down into turn 8, come into turn 8, stay close into turn 8, and then go wide around through here. Come to this section of the track, we set a clear section to get your grip, and again back out wide here and across over to the inside of the pit straight. So for a wet line, we want to be here to this light grey section of track, coming around through here, braking down the inside here, staying tight on the inside, tight through here to get the traction down off of that rubbered up racing line. Stay wide through here and get a straight line, come through, brake up towards the top of the corner, then back through. Tight line through here, staying right over to the right hand side to get off the rubbered section of the track to get your traction down. For anyone racing the IMSA Sprint Series this week, this track will be wet. There are thunderstorms predicted. Maybe lucky to snare a dry race somewhere through the week, but the guys will be expecting for the track to be the same conditions we are racing now for the IMSA Endurance Series this coming weekend. And we'll have a look at John Filligan, how the car's handling for Philly at the moment. So sitting 20 seconds off the lead from John McHenry. Still putting in some good lap times. Jared Eastman's still sitting with the tow at the moment. And we're counting down to 41 minutes to go. And John looks to be having some good rotation with that car at this stage. After we've watched a few laps from John, we might switch over and have a look at John McHenry for a few laps. See if we can pick the difference between the two lead LMP2 cars on track. Michael Artlett having to stop for repairs, we assume. Joe Joplin currently running the lead of the the GT3 class. See Michael Artlett just there. We can see Joe Joplin in the Ferrari here. So Philly makes past Kashi and Joe through there. We can see if we can see any difference in the handling or attitude of the car between the two LMP2 drivers. And John McHenry jumps into the pits. Let's have a look at Michael Artlett. He's putting some pressure onto the back of Joe Joslin at the moment. McHenry and John Cashin both in the pits for the LMP2 class. I'll put John Filligan back up to the lead of this race. And if you want to master this track, turn 5 is the first place you should be looking to find speed. Maximising your braking zone into there and the rotation of the car to get it to turn around. And the classes are all gathering up around the track. We do got a couple of packs running around the track now. As I said, even though a small field this evening, we have seen some exciting battles. We got Joe Joslin just putting down his personal best of a 117.8. And that's the advantage of a 2-hour race, or the advantage of endurance series. It's seat time and finding some consistency, just finding the 1/10 here and 1/10 there to maximise your racing line. And we've seen all the drivers running down into PBs throughout this race, which has been great to see. For everyone watching the stream, we hope you are enjoying it. GT3's moving out of the way for the LMP2s there. And Mike Whiteley just holding off the back here. Want to be conscious of the LMP2s around them and allow them to roll through. You don't want to be diving out to make a braking down the inside and make contact with an LMP2. You can see the advantage there with Michael Utler pulling out and taking advantage of the slipstream of the LMP2 down the straight to make the overtake on Job. Smart move. And the LMP2 class now heating up with Jared Eastman out for a splash and dash dart around this racetrack after a couple of phone calls and some circumstances going on around the house. He's back out on track. And looking to get some seat time. Looking to track down his PB. John Philly after that pit stop has gained the margin back onto John McHenry. Now 8.1 seconds between 1 and 2 on track. This could heat up with 30 minutes to go in this race. As we look very right, Jared Eastman sliding around the back there, just pushing a little too hard. Could comfortably get past both of the GT3s down here. Down through Andretti Straight. Joe making hard work for Michael Artlet here at the moment. Michael had to be patient for a few laps until he got the opportunity to get past Joe, but Joe is hanging right off the back. Not much between the two cars on that last lap, only 2/10. Joe still holding into that slipstream, taking advantage of the draft. We'll watch this gap between John McHenry and John Philly in the LMP2 class. 8.1 seconds at the moment, and not much between them in their lap times. Both have a little bit of clear traffic around them at the moment. It's about the length of the start-finish line. Or the gap. They'll have a couple of laps before they catch up to Capelsch at the moment. So we'll stay with this battle here. Joe doing a great drive here, staying up the pace with the lead GT3 car. So, swapping lap times with each other. For anyone who says that iRacing is easy, I challenge them to spend 2 hours driving around Canadian Tire. It is a very, very demanding track. Pretty well, the Mario Andretti Straight is about the only section of this track where you actually get to have a bit of a breather. But it is only 3.96 kilometres, so it's a reasonably short circuit. But a constant array of lefts and rights around here. And the track originally opened in 1961. And it has remained the true racing line. Even though the track was widened, they widened the track outside of the racing line to ensure the integrity of the track was maintained. Watching Matt Beattie do the move around the outside of Capelsch. John Philly just coming up on the back of Kashi at the moment. We've got the GT3 Porsche in there as well for Terry Knowles. Philly makes it through cleanly. Closing the gap now, 7.7 seconds between first and second on track. He's got one more GT3. Got to get past Capelsch yet before he makes some clear air. A blink of acknowledgement there from Kashi. John makes it cleanly past Capelsch and on the hunt again. Although margins now dropped out to 8.1 seconds on that last lap. A little bit of interference with the GT3 cars maybe. And Kashi going out into the grass. Not exactly where the LMP2 car likes to run. And Joe Joblin punching down some commanding times with a 117.9 his last lap. And running consistently in the 117s at the moment for Job. Fantastic drive for him to be sitting in second place. Capelsch only 29 seconds down the road behind these two drivers. Very close field for the GT3s this evening. We did see some trouble from Terry Knowles earlier. We believe that may have been some events outside of the rig that could have distracted him. Unfortunately, some time in the pits has locked him back into 4th position. But it's the march forward from John Filligan at the moment. The question is, does he have enough time and enough pace in that LMP2 car? His tyres are 3 laps fresher than what we see on John McHenry's. The track temp now 43.9 degrees, still on the climb. In-game time just coming up to 2 PM in the afternoon on Saturday the 13th of July. A little bit of cloud cover out there, but nothing sinister. Kashi just making contact then with John McHenry. Didn't quite see him in the mirror when by the time he caught him it was too late. That allows John Philly to pass through. So Joe would not be happy with himself there. We can see the damage now to John McHenry. I'm thinking that is a broken axle. That will be a pit stop. That is disappointing. It will be looked at after the race, I am sure. John Filligan now leading this race. John McHenry in the pits for repairs, unfortunately. It did look like John used his fast repair there by the looks of that. Looks like John just did get up on the outside of Job. And Job has DNF'd. He has pulled out of the event. That is also disappointing to see. So that will move Terry Knowles up into 3rd position in the GT3 class. And John McHenry now 21 seconds back off the back of John Filligan. And that is a sign of the drivers being weary at the end of 1.5 hours in their rig, driving around this track, plus the practice time prior to the event. Some of these guys have been 2 hours on laps. You see one of the GT3s, that was Kapelsch, heading into pit lane. Getting his fresh set of tyres and fuel for his run home. And all is not lost here at this stage. The drivers do get drop rounds in this series. So even if you have a bad event, even if you have a disconnection or you make contact with another car, get taken out of the grid, you do have the opportunity to drop your worst 2 rounds. John Finnegan making hay here at the moment, only 2 points back on the leaderboard, and the leader for the Iracing Aussie Endurance Series is not running this evening. So Matt Mitrovic in his ever commanding Audi Mustang, not able to make it, as we see Terry Knowles have a big moment off in the Porsche, manages to keep it off the walls, just cooling off the tyres out there. Looking for a sponsor from Jim's Mowing, maybe. Kapesh is also, he's just got his outlap now, so he sits comfortably in 2nd place. And we should see Terry Knowles move up into 3rd place with no job on being a DNF for this evening's event. He will score points, having attributed to the majority of the evening. No one chatting at the moment. Guys, I hope you are enjoying the stream this evening. Enjoyed some of the battles out on track and the commentary this evening. So we are now under 20 minutes remaining in this race. And John McHenry very nervous now around the GT3 of Michael Artlett, but manages to through. Continuing to lose time to John Finnegan. So Matt Beattie clawed his way back up into 3rd position. And all of our LMP2 drivers out there still rotating this evening. Valuable lap time, valuable seat time, getting experience in these cars. The experience around these track. Radiant tyres, one that pops up every so often in most of the series around iRacing. I mentioned it's very technical track and very, very demanding on the concentration level. With 2 hours race time for this evening's race. We're down to the last 18 minutes. It is a race of attrition now to manage to remain focused. Equivalent to a double stint or a triple stint in the LMP2 cars. The order settles itself out now, so we've got John Finnegan, John McHenry and Matt Beattie 1, 2 and 3 in the LMP2 class, and Michael Artlett, Capelch and Terry Knowles in the GT3 class. Only 3 GT3s continue to roll around this track. Terry Knowles and Capelch are proving that it pays to stay out there. Points are up for grabs. Even if you have a couple of moments on track or a disappointing this evening, that doesn't mean that you need to give up. Get out there and spend some time in the rig. Get out there and enjoy the racing. And this evening's race being brought to you by VGA, Veterans Gaming Australia. Veterans looking after veterans. Cables Computers, also one of the major sponsors for VGA. And Arc Up Coffee. These logos are more on the Veteran Gaming Australia liveries out there at the moment. So while you're watching the stream, take a look at the liveries, have a look at the cars rolling around the track. My favourite livery this evening is the Dr. Pepper livery Jared Eastman's running around with. It's easy to get involved. All you've got to do, download Iracing, get yourself eye paints or trading paints, and then pick yourself a livery for your vehicle, add it to your car. There are plenty of liveries available through trading paints, or you can do up a custom livery within Iracing itself using the colour scheme charts there, or if you want to get more involved through using GIMP or Photoshop, you can download the template from Iracing and then create your own liveries, as we see with the VGA liveries here. There's plenty of guys in the Discord that will help you out if you're struggling or finding your way through the programs. Spread out around the track now, not much action going on. Too sure what happened to Michael Artlett. I'm not seeing him on the track map at this stage. He's still going around. Oh, there he is. This sounds like Jared Eastman just having another little moment there. Around through turn 5. Moves out of the way off the racing line. just going to take a look to see where we are next week in our season schedule. So next week we are at Autodromo Jose Carlos race for the Grand Prix circuit in Brazil. Fantastic track. It'll be really good for the LMP2s. GT3 cars are good fun around there, but definitely the LMP2 cars. It is a Grand Prix circuit. It really is succumb to the downforce of those cars. Maximum amount of grip. Will be a great circuit for the IMSA series. Drivers enjoying the racing this evening from what I have heard in the side chat. Drivers have enjoyed the challenges of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Bill Cashy would love to drag the supercart out there one day and do a lap around there in the rural supercart. The Canadian Tire Motorsports Park was specifically designed for sports cars. It's not susceptible to MotoGP. Less than 10 minutes now left in this race. So John Filligan running with a commanding lead at the moment in the LMP2 class, and Michael Artlett holding a strong lead at the moment over Capelsch in the GT3. So Michael Artlett, Capelsch and Terry Knowles for the podium in the GT3. In the LMP2 class at the moment it looks like John Filligan, John McHenry and Matt Beattie will be standing on the podium. And the points class will be Michael Artlett will have a strong boost of points. Give him a couple of jumps up the ladder. John Filligan will step ahead at the moment with these three nearest competitors not being able to race this evening. But that will sort itself out later at the end of the season when they take their drop rounds into account. So 7 minutes to go now. Do you back off and just roll the car home, or do you pedal to the metal and go for the outright win and try and take home the fastest lap of the race? Where's your mindset at if you had just spent close to 2 hours in the car? Would you just be happy to get the car across the line, or would you be pushing as hard as you can in the closing minutes of the event? So, question for Tim out there in the stream. What's your mindset in the last 5 minutes of the race? Are you pushing as hard as you possibly can, or are you just weighing up the odds of the margins that you've got around you and successfully getting the car back across the line? There is the challenge of concentration levels at this time of the race after 2 hours in the car. The guys running on strategy will be very hot tyres now. The track temp 43.3. Tyres would be feeling a bit second hand. They would be getting very low on fuel. Guys working their way through the GT3s at the moment. John McHenry had a commanding lead on this race. Well, not really commanding lead, but had a 6 to 7 second margin gap over John McPhillan. Unfortunately, made contact with Job Joslin in the Ferrari GT3 and required a pit stop for damage. That has put John back into second place, but he is gaining some margin back on John Philly at the moment, but John Philly 30-second margin lead. A little loose moment there. John McHenry pushing as hard as he possibly can in these closing stages of this race. John doesn't want to leave anything on the table. He needs to recover some points here. He's going for the fastest lap of the race. He still holds fastest lap, I believe, at this stage. I don't think anyone has topped his 107.8, I think it was, or 7. Oh, getting the car very loose through there, pushing for every final tenth he can find around this track. And Jared Easton just out there pushing out some laps now. Unfortunately distracted by a phone call, and a coughing fit has put him in the wall twice this evening. Jumped in the chat to say that he's keen to get out there and get some seat time up in the car. He has switched from the GT3 over to the LMP2. The attitude of the LMP2 from John McHenry is showing that he is pushing as hard as he can at the moment. A few loose moments that last lap, but back onto it again. Certainly don't want to be locking those tyres up too much at this time with the Track temp now coming back down, 41.3. Big drop in track temp in the last 5 minutes. In-game time rolling towards 2:30 p.m. on Saturday the 13th of July. And we are clock certain for this race with under 1.5 minutes to go. Only around about 80 seconds left, plus one lap. So clock clicks down now into the last 60 seconds. It's up to when John Filligan crosses the finish line to determine the last lap of this race. Looks like he has just crossed the finish line, so we have one more lap after this. On board with John Filligan now, coming up through turns 3 and 4. Turns 5A, B and C. Takato and Mario Andretti straight. So John will see the white flag when he crosses the start-finish line this lap. So let's take the last lap with John. I would say John has given the checkered flag. And there we go, John McHenry through for P2. John Easton through for the checkered flag. We can see in the marshal's box. And that was Michael Artlett coming through for the lead, and Michael Beattie just throwing it through the line backwards. A couple of J turns through there, thank you very much. And we also see Terry Knowles come through in the Porsche, the GT3 class. And that is round 5, or week 5, season 3 for the Iracing Aussie Endurance Series. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, 2 hours endurance series this evening. We did not have a very large field, but we saw some fantastic driving throughout the series, and this evening was no doubt at all holding up to the standard of racing that we've seen in this series. Guys, if you've enjoyed the series, enjoyed the broadcast this evening, again, you want to get involved, jump on Discord. Find any of the guys in iRacing and have a chat to them. Great league, great bunch of guys. It is very much a development series. Anyone who has a license in iRacing can get involved. Next week we're off to Jose Carlos, the Grand Prix circuit in Brazil. Fantastic guys. Look forward to coaching you in a week's time, next Tuesday.